I think that that is something that's overlooked as well, is that having your ducks in a row and doing what's right. Because on the offline world, Klara might share deals 5 times with somebody who passes, but on that 6th time, they go, wow, she actually has her stuff together, she's built a rapport, and maybe that's when they come on. It's very similar online with a lot of these platforms and also these deals, where somebody might share a deal. We spoke to a fund that told us that it's very, very rare that somebody comes on board and makes a large initial investment in their fund, because when these people come on board, they know that this real estate fund does a fund every year. So usually the first time somebody comes in is closer to their minimum investment for the fund, but by the 2nd or 3rd fund, these people are putting in $1 million at a time, or writing a much larger check, or an institution now has put them through the ringer and tested them a few times. So from that standpoint, and talking about having your ducks in a row, I know you're more on the company side, but who vets these docs, right? So you talked earlier about valuation.
Yeah.
I mean, as a startup, the first time somebody asks you what your valuation is, you're talking out of your ass for the most part. Do you, from a more institutional side, how do you deal with that? Because you now are one of those third parties that helps do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so a lot of what we bring to the table is, on the buy side, I would look at, and you probably do the same thing on the real estate, we'd look at 100 deals a year, easily, and really only do 1 or 2 out of that. And I'll give you an example of, we were looking at a pretty advanced technology. This was a segment we knew we wanted to look at, and from the engineering side, there were companies that were getting a lot of sizzle on the technical side. Looked like it had the great stuff. But the company that got our attention was actually a company that did a video, showed their product being used at the customer and the applications of that product. So you didn't have to get caught up in the technology. We got caught up in the markets they were serving, which was a wide variety of markets. And then they said, well, and by the way, our revenue has doubled year over year, and we're already making very, very good margins. So that really got our attention from day one, and that's the deal we did. And again, it was another one of these hundreds of millions of dollars of deals. And so I think the lesson is that understand what your investor is looking for, and if you can lay out, yes, get their attention, and maybe this is the same thing on a property. That looks like a nice property, but what's the return going to be? I would think if somebody comes to you with, here's what the comps are, here's what the thing, here's what the income has been, laying all that out, does that help in terms of going out to syndicated deals to say, hey, this looks like an interesting property because the work's been done by the time you even look at it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm saying, does what I saw in the technology translate to the real estate industry?
Well, in real estate, what investors invest in is a story, a presentation, a future, cash flow, growth. And you have to be able to describe from day one when that cash flow and why. When, how, and why is that cash flow going to begin? Unlike technology and other, startups, with startups you don't have immediate cash flow unless you're doing some kind of a merger and you already have some sales. But in real estate, if you're not building from the ground up, you've got an asset that should be generating some income. And so that income becomes an indication of what could happen in the future. And so you have to paint a picture of how you're going to increase that income. What are you going to be doing? What are the steps? Are you going to increase rents? Are you going to kick out the existing tenants and bring in new tenants? Just what is it you're going to do to reposition this property? And that's the story that investors enjoy hearing about and learning. But you have to be so precise and articulate in understanding what you're doing, what you're buying, how you're going to reposition it, knowing that product inside out so that you never get stumped when a person asks you a question. You're really living that deal. And you know what? The investors know that. They know you are the deal, and that you know every single intricate aspect of that deal. And you know how you're going to raise the income, and you know how you're going to create the ultimate value, and you know what your exit strategy is going to be. So when you have that story, I can tell you that if I have a bona fide investor in front of a group of investors, let's say, I can tell you that I can close 80% of them because I am that deal and I know every aspect of it, and I don't have to close them, push them, sway them. They either like what I have to say or they don't.